How did a Turkish romantic comedy begin its journey in Turkey and eventually capture the attention of millions of viewers across different parts of the world? That is one of the most interesting questions surrounding Sen Kalkarpimi. At first glance, the series contained many familiar romantic elements: two completely different people, a relationship beginning with conflict, unexpected feelings, jealousy, separation, and eventual reunions. Yet Hande Ercel's Ida Yildiz and Kerem Bursin's Serkan Bolat transformed that familiar formula into something much bigger. So what made it happen? A major part of the answer can be found in the contrast between Ida and Serkan. Ida was energetic, independent, and unafraid of expressing her emotions. She had dreams of her own and refused to allow Serkan to dominate her world. Serkan was almost her complete opposite. He was disciplined, distant, and accustomed to organizing his life around work, schedules, and control. From their earliest encounters, that difference created tension. Viewers could probably predict that these two characters would eventually fall in love. Sen Kalkarpimi did not need to hide that destination. Instead, it made audiences curious about the journey. How could someone as controlled as Serkan fall for Ida? How would Ida break through the emotional walls he had built? And could two people who approached life so differently actually stay together? The screen chemistry between Hande Ercel and Kerem Bursin became central to answering those questions. Hande brought a lively and expressive energy to Ida, while Kerem played Serkan with a much more controlled presence. When one moved closer, the other often stepped back. When Ida expressed what she felt, Serkan frequently tried to hide it. As a result, some of their most memorable romantic moments did not require dramatic declarations. Sometimes a look was enough. A brief silence, an unexpected moment of jealousy, or a small smile could reveal everything the characters were trying not to say. But chemistry alone does not explain the international success of Sen Kalkarpimi. Another major advantage was the universal nature of its emotional story. Love, jealousy, family, ambition, pride, heartbreak, and second chances do not belong to a single culture. A viewer in Spain could understand Serkan's jealousy. A fan in Latin America could connect with Ida's disappointment. The emotions at the center of their relationship could travel even when the language changed. Then social media entered the equation and completely changed the scale of the phenomenon. Television series no longer needed to rely entirely on traditional international broadcasting to find audiences abroad. A short Ida and Serkan scene could appear online, receive subtitles in another language, and suddenly reach thousands of people who had never watched a Turkish series before. For Sen Kalkarpimi, social media effectively became a second distribution network. Fans did much more than simply repost scenes. They created romantic edits, collected their favorite moments, analyzed the characters, and built international communities around Ida, Serkan, Hande, and Kerem. The experience no longer ended when an episode finished. The conversation continued online. At the same time, curiosity surrounding Hande Ercel and Kerem Bursin themselves continued to increase. Fans who originally arrived because of Ida and Serkan gradually became interested in the actors behind the characters. Interviews and behind-the-scenes moments attracted attention alongside scenes from the actual series. That helped both stars build even greater international visibility. Yet perhaps the most important reason the story remained engaging was that the relationship itself never stopped evolving. Eventually, the central question was no longer simply, will Ida and Serkan fall in love? It became something more complicated. Now that they love each other, can they actually stay together? That is where the separations, misunderstandings, and reunions became essential. The longer audiences stayed with these characters, the more they discovered their fears, vulnerabilities, and personal histories. Serkan stopped being simply the cold, successful businessman. Ida stopped being simply the cheerful young woman who disrupted his perfectly organized life. Their weaknesses became visible. And the more vulnerable they became, the more personal their relationship felt to the audience. Perhaps that is the most interesting explanation for the global success of Sen Kalkarpimi. The series did not conquer international audiences because it told an impossibly complicated story. It succeeded because it presented extremely familiar emotions through the right characters at the right moment. Hande Ercel and Kerem Bursin's screen chemistry, the contrast between Ida and Serkan, the mixture of romance and comedy, the reach of social media, and the enthusiasm of international fans all came together. The result was more than a successful Turkish television series. For a period of time, enormous communities of viewers living thousands of kilometers apart were talking about the same two characters. Even after the series ended, scenes featuring Ida and Serkan continued to circulate and attract new viewers. That distinction matters. Some television shows become successful during their original run and gradually disappear from conversation. Others continue to be discovered. Sen Kalkarpimi managed to become one of those stories. And perhaps the most fascinating question is no longer why the series became successful. It is whether the same formula could ever be recreated. If Hande Ercel and Kerem Bursin were introduced as Ida and Serkan for the first time today, would audiences around the world fall in love with them all over again?